Well, hello, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Speed Street Podcast. We appreciate you being here. Give yourself a pat on the back. You're a great group of people, those that come and watch this show, those that listen to this show, those that want to learn more about NTT IndyCar Series motor racing. And we have NTT IndyCars on track currently right now, not exactly where I am, but not far from where I am. I'm currently in Las Vegas, but they are at the Thermal Club. So we'll talk about a few of the drivers that are testing there and what that means, what that looks like, and just the fact that there are going to be some results that we can all overreact to. That's going to be a lot of fun. People are dying to do that, so that's going to be great. I myself am currently in an IndyCar driver's house by the name of Colton Herta. Colton Herta is allowing me to stay at his residence right now in the early parts of my Vegas trip for the Formula One weekend this weekend in Las Vegas. Crazy stuff going on here, as it was last year. So excited to work this event. But a few little news items to discuss IndyCar wise. But Chase, how you doing, man? How's everything looking? We've got another week into the off season. Next week we will take off for Thanksgiving, so we have a little bit of an off week for Thanksgiving. Let some news build up. But yeah, how's everything looking?
Man, you just missing some IndyCar racing, man. We're at a point now where we're fully into hockey mode. I've become a hockey fan this year. I've never really watched hockey, so it's been fun. I know Alex Ovechkin got hurt apparently last night late. We hope he's okay because it could be some big history made. We still have F1 racing, which now my F1 watching begins. So I get 2 races a year. It's kind of a minimum for me. I'm excited about the Las Vegas Grand Prix, though. Excited to talk about it. And I guess other than that, just wanted to say big congrats to my main man, Ryan Preece. Just signed with RFK over in NASCAR. He's going to be driving the number 60 next year. So that's some big news from the NASCAR world. So just trying to keep up with everything racing right now that I can to try to just, get my fix. Because all we have is stick and ball and F1 Vegas Grand Prix. So that's it.
There you go. Yeah, well, we've got a few things going on. Let's get right to it. We have a guest by the name of Louis Foster this week. So you'll finally get to hear from the Indy NXT champ, new IndyCar driver for RLL Racing, Rahal Letterman Lanigan. And he is also testing today out with that group at the Thermal Club. So that is, I think you're going to enjoy that. Good conversation with him. I don't really know him that well yet, and I thought it was enjoyable. So hopefully you enjoy learning about a new driver that you might not know before. But let's read the test list right now. Let's read who's in action out there currently, because I think it's interesting, and I had the tweet up, but now it's gone. But anyway,
I did see Hunter. I know we know Hunter McElroy's there, and Logan Sargent. Yeah. How could you forget the Sarge? Everyone's hyping up the Sarge.
I'm just trying to get the official listing. So for Meyer Shank Racing, it's Logan Sargent. Obviously, for Rahal Letterman Lanigan, we mentioned Louis Foster. For Team Penske's out there with Felipe Nasr. Obviously, he's a part of their sports car program. McLaren's running Enzo Fittipaldi. Not Pietro Fittipaldi. Quite a fast family there. Ed Carpenter Racing is running Hunter McElroy. I didn't know that's a word. And then Dale Coyne Racing is out there as well with Toby Sowery. Now, I don't know how the day works for Toby Sowery because he was already an IndyCar driver. So I guess if you don't run a full season, you can still do the eval day. Same with Hunter McElroy. He was an IndyCar driver already, but I guess you can still – I don't know exactly what the rules are when it comes to driver eval day, but these are the eval days that are basically being completed so the teams can get an extra day of testing. And not everyone does it at the same time, so that's why there's only a few teams there, but it'll be interesting to see. Really interesting. There's really only one full-time driver at this test, so it's more of like a should be fun to look at results type test. And even though we know for a fact that we should not ever judge test results, well, you can still look at them. So it's gonna be fun to watch.
They're giving us something.
We've just got something. I wish there was like a live stream, some sort of like. I'm sure IndyCar's out there with some content making machines. So hopefully we can get a few little just tastes of what's going on. Just something.
Just some clips.
Just give us a little bit of a look inside the hood. Also, great news last week as well that came out after the show was recorded, and it's a shame that, obviously the news was not planned around our show. We understand that. That's fine. But Roger Penske made a great power move in the purchasing of the Long Beach Grand Prix. Long Beach has obviously been a very important part of the history of IndyCar. It has been an event that is under attack, let's say, from F1 or NASCAR. They've been slowly trying to, maybe take it over, and we cannot obviously let that happen. So Jerry Forsythe was the first one to kind of step up and become a major investor, a major owner of that property, which we talked about last year, I believe. And now Roger decided, you know what? This is mine. This is ours. It's a defensive move, honestly. All of what Roger did is in pure defense, and you got to have a good defense. That's for sure. It's important, and he claimed that as ours, as the IndyCar World's, and that's very, very important because I think it would have worried a lot of people.
Eat into the monopoly.
Yeah, he would have eaten. Well, it would have been very difficult to see the Long Beach race go away, and I think a lot of people started getting nervous when you see articles like, "Oh, Formula One and NASCAR," like, "Whoa, maybe they'll go to Long Beach," and it's like, no, like that's not going to happen. Maybe there's a deal where we could coexist there someday. I mean, again, I think as we talked about with Parker Kligerman a little bit, it would be cool to have more coexisting events. I still think that it would be really cool sometimes to have an IndyCar and NASCAR race on the same weekend, like we did it at the Indy GP.
That'd be
not
cool
the
for
Indy
Long
GP,
Beach.
but the Brickyard
I could
weekend.
See stock cars.
Yeah. So I think Long Beach would have to be adjusted if NASCAR racing would ever go there. I don't think they'd ever make it around the hairpin, but who knows? But anyway, great defensive move from Roger there. It's all about business, and Roger's a good businessman, and we hope that obviously works out for him. So that was really cool. Chase, when someone goes out and claims their territory, right? You mark your territory. That's a power move for a businessman, is it not?
No, absolutely. I mean, you're at a point right now to where, we're hearing more than we've ever heard before about how much NASCAR owns, right? About how much NASCAR has all across the country, and they're making the monopoly statements like I had made. And so I think this is a great foot forward. I mean, Roger owns a few events, and finding ways to make events or maybe even create new ones and make them exciting, develop that ownership, that will continue to eat in, and that's just going to make a better motorsports world for everybody. And that's one thing that I think is important that Roger has been able to bring to the table, because there's not a lot of these people that have this type of money that are spending it on these types of things. So we need guys like that to keep and continue and solidifying that. But for the series of IndyCar as a whole, it's just like you said, the history of this event, it's too much to let go of. So I think it was a fantastic move, and I'm actually excited. It's still one event I have not personally got to attend. So I'm looking forward to trying to get out that way for 2025. It's just an incredible area. Also, where the great fictional, I guess, convict driver Memphis Reigns from Gone in 60 Seconds. He's a Long Beach native. So big
Beach
fan
guy.
of him. Yeah, great guy.
Me too.
So yeah, we love it.
Yeah, it's great news. So a lot going on there, and a couple of things that came out recently when it comes to driver news as well. We obviously saw that some of the IMSA folks were testing at Daytona this week, and some of the endurance lineups were obviously announced. And with the Meyer Shank Racing team, MSR, you see that all the Ganassi drivers are there. So you have, Felix Rosenquist, who's, of course, an in-house MSR driver. You've got Alex Palou, Scott Dixon. Guess what, guys? That's the Ganassi partnership at work. And it's a great lineup. I mean, that's going to be a very, very strong, very, very powerful lineup, of the Ganassi drivers there. And it's going to be very, very cool. So I'm excited to see those guys in action. MSR, great group of people. We also saw an IndyCar driver that announced that he was going sports car racing. So Pietro Fittipaldi going to the Pratt & Miller IMSA team. That basically takes a name off the board, I will say, for the off-season, for the silly season charts. If you made a chart at home and you're trying to figure out who is going where and when they can announce that. I certainly believe that, that a deal like that probably takes him out of the running of a full-time IndyCar seat. So an interesting decision. Maybe just that's a career move. Hey, this is the best opportunity. I mean, Pratt & Miller obviously is a great organization. That's like a strong racing just organization in general. So, maybe that's a career move for Pietro. And I think we obviously know who is going to be, there's a lot of rumors obviously around the Devlin DeFrancesco camp. And we know that Devlin is and his father are good at raising funds. So maybe that was what was necessary and Pietro didn't have it. Or, I mean, he did struggle. He did struggle last year for sure. So maybe the team was looking for another option and a well-funded one. So we'll see as the news continues to come out. And we are every day getting closer to locking these seats up. And people love to say that there was an announcement coming, like they were like, oh, Stingray's going to announce something. And it was like really just he was announcing that he got married. So he fooled everyone. He fooled us all. And that's, but everyone is very confident in their rumors. Like they're like, oh, he's going to announce something this week. I promise. And it's like, or he's trolling all of you guys. And good job, Stingray, on that one, honestly. Like, well done.
Did.
The Stingray troll was in full effect. And congrats on getting married to the Stingray.
Yeah, what a better way to troll, right? You like literally you have the whole world thinking you're about to become a driver. Nope, you just decided that you were ready to walk into one of the largest commitments of your life. So that right there, I mean, that's a reward in itself.
Yeah, I agree. And I know we mentioned in the last episode too, maybe see some more drivers doing social stuff, maybe some social media activity. I saw that you did interact with Kiffin Simpson. He apparently listens to this show. So shout out to Kiffin Simpson. You probably don't like a lot of the words that we've said about you on this show. But hey, maybe that's tough loving. I don't know. That's
Saved
okay.
At the pump, baby.
Appreciate what you're doing for the sport. It doesn't matter how we feel. It matters how the folks receiving the information, the interactions on the internet feel. So
that's what I was excited most about, was because it's like he grabbed the torch, dude. I mean, you got to give it to Kiffin. He grabbed the torch and he said, you know what? I heard you guys said we're not posting enough. We're going to get something done. Kiffin's leading the way right now. So he's leading the points in IndyCar social media posting. We're going to start a new point system. This is how we're going to race in the off season. Yeah.
Leading the points in just doing something. So that's good.
Being himself, being the guy.
Yeah. We obviously saw a lot of stuff, thankfully, from the Gamebridge side, too, from the Andretti guys, Marcus and Colton. Colton, who is in here somewhere, but they were doing this incredible golf deal with Caitlin Clark. And so that was a lot of good content for the Andretti folks. Just good to see some stuff like that, keeping athletes involved with other high-level athletes. Obviously, Caitlin Clark, one of the most famous athletes in the world currently. I would say maybe not in the world, but probably America.
Definitely Indiana, dude.
Definitely Indiana. Yeah. But yeah, hopefully we just keep seeing more and more social activity, more and more just awareness, more and more drive to retain relevancy. That's all we're trying to do. Just try to retain some relevancy. So yeah, that's a few news items. I'd like to talk a little bit about the Las Vegas F1 race this weekend. So this will be my second time commentating for the track. So I'm basically like the Dave Calabro of this. Dave Calabro at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway obviously is the guy who is just telling you everything about the race while the race is going on and just for the track feed. So it's me, Bob Varsha, who's a very, very talented guy, Jonathan Green. We're going to be commentating on the Formula One, all the Formula One sessions this weekend, just like I did last year. And also now that there's a support race, the Ferrari Challenge race. I don't know anything. I don't know anyone in the Ferrari Challenge race. I'm apparently commentating on it. So I'm going to do some research and I'm going to figure out how that's going to work. So that'll be very, very interesting to see the Ferrari Challenge wagons rolling around there. Very, very curious to see how that goes. But it's going to be fun. I'm already out here, played some golf yesterday, getting our athlete stuff going. We hope that we've been trying to play some golf with Lando Norris, Colton and I, and boy, are these F1 drivers busy. So hopefully we can make it happen at some point. But it's been good to be here. Talk about some random run-ins already in Las Vegas on a Monday evening, very early on in the week. Last night, walking around the Wynn Hotel, Joey Logano, just walking by, and I was like, "Is that Joey Logano?" And I obviously called him over, and I was like, "Hello, Joey." I was like, "Congrats on your championship." He sort of knows me. I mean, we do know each other because we did cup race against each other a couple times, and I sat next to him at a driver's meeting. But that was just so random. And I asked if he was going to the Formula One race, and he said no. He's doing something with Ford there, I think. So not even going to the Formula One race. But Joey was there, and I thought that was cool. Nice little interaction. Introduced him to Colton as well. Couple quite successful drivers, I would say there. And it was kind of wild. He wasn't an official kit at all. Just looked like he was ready to enjoy Vegas for the evening. I don't know.
What is a Joey Logano Las Vegas? Like, what do you do? Like, is he a gambler? Do you gamble? Like, I mean, America's favorite NASCAR driver. But I will say, like, it's very odd. I would not expect to just see Joey walking around a casino at night. Maybe there's more to this story. Maybe there's more to Joey than meets the eye. You know,
I wanted to know what was going to happen next. Yeah, I wanted to know where it was going, what was going on. It was a brief conversation. Glad we saw him. And then I also saw someone else, which, again, most random thing ever. Obviously, this city is taking in a lot of folks for this week's events, but there's also a ton of other stuff that goes on in Vegas at all times. And I don't know why, but Michael Phelps was walking through the hotel last night, and I tried to say hi to Michael Phelps, and he continued to walk, which, again, that's fine. I think he was maybe FaceTiming someone or something was going on, and I was like, "Hey, Michael," and because I'm big fan of the Olympic legend. That didn't go great for me. So, but shout out Michael Phelps. It was really cool to see Michael Phelps there.
You should. I don't know what he's doing. Pool.
Maybe he's doing something with the event. But it was really fun to see those folks already. It's going to be a great week here. I think obviously this is an IndyCar show, but it's going to be a bit of Formula One talk because I'm excited I get on the track tonight, actually, which is Tuesday. We record the show on Tuesday, and this episode comes out Wednesday morning. So I get to do another lap of the track tonight and do a bit of a segment on talking about how the track looks, how it's been prepared, how the racing went last year. And I'm curious. I hope it's a great race. It was a great race last year. I think the race at Las Vegas surprised everyone. And Lando needs to win. Max can't score any points, so the championship battle can continue. Essentially, I want to see it go to the last round, of course, but we'll see how it goes. So
this is the race.
What do you think about this Vegas race, Trace?
So I've watched it. I watched it last year. I got to see you do your thing, and I mean, it was a lot. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. There's something exciting about like staying up at midnight, watching a race like at midnight, knowing that like it's one of the rare times you can be on social media after like 12 p.m. Eastern and not be looked at just like insomniac or a complete weirdo or like Elon or whatever else. But I personally thought that I've seen a lot of clips of the F1 races, and like I'm not, I hate on F1 for fun, but I mean I'm not like completely against it. Like it was one of the more competitive races last year, and so I think that because it was one of the more competitive races, like it kind of opened my eyes up to being like, okay, this race needs to stay. Like this is legit. This is all in. I know they had a couple of hiccups they were not anticipating. Like Carlos Sainz, he hit a sinkhole last year. So I was going to ask you, have they taped off all of the sewage holes out there? Are we going to have any of those issues?
I hope so. I'm going to look at them. I'm going to look at them tonight and see what happens. But
and aside, I guess from that, the only other thing I was going to say is Formula One does such a good job with merch collaboration for this race. So I saw a post yesterday. I'm a giant Tyler, the Creator fan. I was a fan of Lawyer Squad coming up and all his music, the whole Golf Wang squad, all of it. And they have a merch collaboration with Tyler, the Creator now. And I want to say it's Lewis Hamilton. So I was looking at some of the shirts and the styles, and I'm like, man, I know we had a great one, for the Indy 500 with home field, but getting some more of those merch collabs for IndyCar, like that's where my mind went immediately. I'm like, God, like, okay, for one, I'm about to buy a shirt that has something to do with Formula One because I just want the Tyler the Creator shirt. For two, I'm like, how do we get more of that for IndyCar? Like, how do we get more of these major brand merch collaborations? So that's something I really would love to see IndyCar explore in 2025 to get a little bit more on that level of it, because those collaborations, I mean, you got them. You got Travis Scott meals at McDonald's. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's like, that's the era we live in now. It's the era of the collab. So all in all, those are the two main takeaways, but I am excited to watch it, and always excited to get to see you chopping it up on screen with the boys. So that'll be fun as well.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I agree on the merch collaborations though. I do that. I think recently there's been more and more Indy 500 shirts, like at a place. I don't know if it's at Abercrombie or Aeropostale or something, American Eagle or something. There's like a 1991 Indy 500 shirt that I like two different people sent me pictures of, and so there's definitely something out there, because a lot of these clothing brands are really diving into like the historic racing looks. You know what I mean? Like that's in right now. So.
Not even historic, too, like Joe Mixon. You saw Joe Mixon wearing the Team Penske shirt in one of his interviews this past week.
That was IndyCar. Shout out Joe Mixon,
dude, that's a big step. Like, I put a post out about that. I'm like, if you, like I was like, attention all stick and ball professionals. Like, go buy one of these sports shirts, wear them in public over the next 2 months. We'll see you in a race next year, It's as simple as that.
Yeah, so that was really good. Another marketing scheme that we should talk about, the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight, real quick. That was apparently I made some news recently on a Twitter response, which is very funny. But that fight was definitely a scam. But we all fell for it. And I you know what? I respect the heck out of that. If you get the names with big enough followings and you market it correctly and you just push it out there, even as much, and Netflix obviously was not even prepared for it at all. I mean, I watched a buffering screen for 30 minutes, it felt like. Thankfully, the preamble fights, the fights before the main event were actually really good. And I'm not an avid fight watcher or avid boxing viewer, but those were good fights. And then you get to the main event and you're like, I think we have to know that we are being set up here. Like, this is 1,000% a setup. And everyone wanted so badly for Mike Tyson to be able to knock out Jake Paul. And it was never going to happen. So shout out to those guys for making $1 billion, something like that. So much money and all the people that lost money gambling on it. I don't know what.
Why would you do that? Like, why would you gamble on boxing? I feel like we've realized at this
on a
point,
fight that's essentially just set up. And that's tough.
UFC is the only way for gambling. Like, that's the only way it works. Like, you should know, even back in the Don King days, man. I mean, like, it's just too easily scripted. Like, just don't bet on boxing. Just don't do it.
But I noticed for some reason on my For You page on the Twitter sphere, Jake Paul tweet comes up because it just says Dear Connor, and that's obviously spelled correctly like me, and I'm like, oh, what's going on?
Hello, Jake.
And so it's just funny because he didn't obviously, he's talking about Conor McGregor, of course, but it was funny when I saw that. I was like, well, maybe I just play into this because I'm obviously I know that those guys made insane money doing that fight, and it didn't even really look like that much of a fight. So why not throw a tweet out there and saying, hey, like if this is to me, I mean, consider me locked in if the price I get paid is maybe $6 to $10 million. Let's just talk about it. Maybe we have a conversation. So would I be actually willing to do that? I will almost do anything to get in a race car for a full-time in IndyCar. So
I think you should.
Let's not consider this to be completely off the table. But I did notice that some news outlets ran with the hilarity of it because it was purely meant in jest and very funny because it was just happened to be like a dear my name. And so shout out to the news organizations that decided that it was a slow news week. And for some reason, my tweets carry some power, and it was very funny. So I enjoyed that one.
Connor, you did good.
Yeah, we made a meme. So, all right. So with that, let's get to our guest this week. We've got a great conversation with Louis Foster from the Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing team. There's not a ton going on this week, and again, next week we will be on vacation just for Thanksgiving. So there will be no show next week, but we will come back the week after. With another guest and kind of just space it out as we go through the holiday season. So here's Louis Foster from Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. Ladies and gentlemen, this week we have a very talented young gun of the IndyCar ladder system. Another success story of the road to Indy, as they say. As I use the road to Indy myself, we had many other very successful drivers use the road to Indy themselves. A British man. We have not had a very successful British driver in the IndyCar series, and it feels like a little while. Jack Harvey's my guy, but I mean, he hasn't won yet, so we got to get a winner back in the streets here. Very excited to have Louis Foster on, the Indy NXT champion, being rewarded with the scholarship, but also a well-earned drive with the Rahal Letterman Lanigan team. Louis, great to have you here, my friend. How are we doing? How's our first off season as an IndyCar driver going?
Yeah, good. No, first, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. And yeah, good to finally meet, I guess.
But we played golf technically, but I was not in the same golf cart.
That's true. We did. I forgot about that. You're right. Yeah. You're right.
You were in the further ahead group.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Right. I remember now. But no, it's going all right. I mean, it's kind of the old when you're in the season, you're wishing for the off season. Then when you're in the off season, you're wishing for the season. So it's quite slow at the moment. But there's a few things lined up. We got a test at Thermal in 3-4 days, and then another test at Laguna a few weeks after that. So kind of ramping up a little bit and just preparing for the season. You know, obviously it's my first time that I can call myself professional, because before this I've always been, it's amateur until you get to the big leagues. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the season, and we're just kind of working hard to try and get me up to speed with everything there's to learn with IndyCar racing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, and I think to go back to the beginning, you obviously have come from a racing family, right? There's a little bit of racing in your family. Tell us a little bit, because this show, we've had some Indy NXT folks on before, and we like to just get more information out there to our fan base, to IndyCar, to everyone. Tell us a little bit about your family, because I obviously know a little bit of the history, doing some research, and kind of how you ended up going from maybe the European road straight over, back to America.
Yeah, so start off with family stuff. It kind of starts with my granddad. My dad grew up obviously with my granddad. My dad's side, and they weren't, they're quite working class people. My granddad, his involvement with motorsport he wasn't a driver. He didn't have the funds to do that, nor the skill. What he did is back in, I want to say it was the 70s. So in the UK, there's the thing called the Blue Book, which is basically the rule book of racing. And he was one of the stewards that wrote that book initially, that original rule book for karting in the UK. He was one of the people that helped out with that.
Nice.
So he's been involved with karting a lot. So when I was a young boy and I was karting around small tracks in the UK, if I ever got into a bit of trouble and he was there, he knew all the stewards and he'd always smooth it over. So any penalties that might have come my way tended to not, which was quite nice.
That's good. That's very helpful.
It is. I wish I had the same thing now, but unfortunately I don't. And then, yeah, my dad, again, just loved racing, was around my granddad all the time. And my dad was actually originally a rally driver. He did a lot of, I think, Group C rallying back in the day.
Great era.
Yeah, 80s, late 80s, mid to late 80s, I think he did it. And he was quite good, actually. He didn't quite, obviously, make it professionally. But that's kind of where he comes from. He did a bit of road racing, kind of late 2010s, late 2000s, early 2010s. But all that was fun, really. And then I hopped in my first car when I was, 14, 13. It's like a Ginetta Junior. It's like a Mazda MX-5, basically, more or less.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, from there, continued on to single-seaters. And I guess it's I would say my route or my career path is kind of different from most drivers in the sense that with the whole way of me coming to America, I was forced into single-seaters in a way because I competed in this junior championship, Ginetta Juniors, and I had to, once I finished that championship, we were planning on doing like 3 or 4 years in it. I did well enough my first year that we didn't think it was much point in doing it again, and the only championship I could do at that age, which I was 15 at the time, was Formula 4. So we kind of got pushed into Formula 4, and then from there, Formula 3. And then at that point, I kind of realized that, hey, I might actually be somewhat good at this. I could have a career in it. And then that was kind of the basis of our making our decision to come over to America, understanding the F1 ladder system and knowing that probably wouldn't work out for myself.
Yeah, I mean, it's a brutal world over there. I mean, when you grow up closer to F1, right, that's everyone's goal. Like, it's, okay, this is, we get it. I had the same goal, but it's got to be cool to be able to make the shift like you did and immediately find the success that you did and then kind of create this path for yourself and create a seat purely based on your own merit, which is obviously what people, that's what we all dream of. But I also don't want to discredit any of the other British drivers. I had said that we need a success only because a British driver hasn't won in a little while. We have Catherine Legg, we got Callum Ilott. Callum Ilott's very good. We had Toby Sowery as well. It says Tom Blomqvist is British. I don't believe that. I always consider him to be Swedish or something like that. Yeah. But we truly haven't had that like British level of dominance because we've seen very dominant British drivers before. Jenson Button, Dan Weldon when he was here in America. I mean, is it something that you guys are just born to do? I mean, is this like hey, British drivers, BRDC, we're all going to be very good?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I think that there tends to be certain countries that, like, on a global scale, very good drivers do come from. My view is it's dependent on the tracks you grow up on, right? So
for sure, yeah.
I think two or three countries that everyone can agree with on a global scale, so outside of IndyCar, outside of America, looking at Formula 1, Formula E, World Endurance Championship, those kind of top categories. A lot of good drivers tend to come from, in my opinion, either England, Japan, or Germany.
Yes, yeah.
/ France, kind of those European countries. I think it's because the tracks you grow up on in the UK, the tracks you grow up on in Japan, and that kind of stuff, they're very unforgiving circuits. Think of like a good example is something like Mid-Ohio, right?
Yes, yeah.
But it's like Mid-Ohio, but every circuit in the UK is like Mid-Ohio. So it's like there's no runoff. It's if you go off, you're in a wall. Like you have to be very disciplined. Whereas somewhere like Road America, for example, there are corners that are sketchy. There's also a lot of runoff in places, and look at somewhere like IMS as well. That one is a lot more forgiving than other circuits. So I guess that's kind of one way I view it. I don't think you have to be from a certain country to be good. You can come from, I don't know, any country and be a good driver. There's great drivers from every country. But it does seem to be a bit of a trend, I guess. Yeah.
It's going to be fun to see, honestly, this year. Let's talk a little bit about the team that you've joined, Rahal Letterman Lanigan. I was employed there for 7 days, I think. It was a great time. I enjoyed the mechanics there. There's a lot of great people at that team. But obviously, they have gone through some struggles, for sure. I mean, anyone who's watched, anyone who knows, we've seen the Indy 500s that they've been, right on the edge of qualifying for. But there had to be something for you there where you go, all right, I see building a future here. I mean, Graham has been very fast at times there, and Christian Lundgaard, of course, they are absolutely race-winning capable. I mean, Christian Lundgaard, we've seen that very recently. Graham Rahal at the front as well, a lot. But what really sold you on going to the Rahal Letterman Lanigan operation?
Yeah, I mean, so we started chatting with Bobby probably midway through the year. Once we kind of got through the bulk of the first part. You know, it was one of the options we had for sure. Obviously, very limited options for 2025 and on. You know, the IndyCar grid is a very difficult place to get onto nowadays, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
So it's very tough to find yourself a home. And yeah, I think from my perspective, you know, from my perspective, they're a team that is like where they're at right now. They don't deserve. They've got this amazing shop. They've got really hardworking people. They put a lot of effort into it, and the fact they're struggling this much is like, you know, they don't deserve it.
Very surprising. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's you know, and they're a team with a lot of history. You know, obviously Bobby, amazing driver. You know, Graham also has so much knowledge as well. So I think for myself, you know, I can see not only my rookie years being a great place to develop because, you know, there's a bit less pressure on me. I've got Graham there who's able to support me, or not support me per se, but I can feed off of him. You know what I mean? You know,
it's a good information source.
Exactly. You know, yeah. It's small things. Like, for example, we've been doing pit stop practices recently with the team, and I've been struggling with stopping at the right point a little bit. So, you know, asking Graham, you know, what does he do? Does he have a braking point? Does he have a reference? You know, that kind of thing. And he gave me some insights into, for example, some drivers have the lollipop in different places based on preference and stuff like that I didn't know before. And it's just, that's one small thing out of a lot of other things that will help me out throughout my rookie campaign. And then moving forward, yeah, I mean, me and Bobby have openly discussed that, you know, we see this as a long-term kind of investment per se, right? You know, it's, we're hoping to each year progress forward more and more and more. I think the team's heading in the right direction. There's been quite a lot of personnel change over the winter. So the Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing you saw last year is not going to be the same as the one you see next year. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But I mean, I feel at home there, you know, right away. And they're all good guys.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's still one of those things that I think we all look at it and you're like, man, how is that actually happening? And me having been in the building, like that's one of the teams that I really didn't think I'd probably ever drive for once I got later into my career. And then when we got a chance, you know, Bob called me up to do a race. I was like, all right, well, now I can at least see what's going on. And great resources, a lot of great people. But I think it just goes to show how difficult this sport is. Everyone knows that this is the most competitive racing championship in the world, I believe. And you know, people can debate that all the time. But, you know, you're not looking for like a second and a half. Like, you guys are looking for maybe like 0.3 here. And you're like, that's a very small margin. You're looking for a mile an hour, maybe 2 miles an hour at Indy. And then you're like right in the game, right? So it's something that, again, those guys have to work on all winter, and I'm sure they are. And it's got to be inspirational for you. Do you have a good relationship with your engineer already? Do you know who your engineer is going to be for the year?
Yeah, yep. So it was Pietro's engineer from last.
Okay, great.
Sorry. So yeah, I've already been working with them. Obviously, we've been doing quite a lot of simulator stuff recently. And then, yeah, like I say, once I think it's difficult to get a feel for your engineer until you actually do the job, which is driving the car and doing the engineering chats. You know what I mean? So we'll see. We'll see how it goes or at thermal. You know, that'll be our first understanding of each other.
Yeah, thermal I wanted to talk about, because really thermal is kind of, when you look at who's going to be testing there, it's really a lot of people that are not actually going to be racing. It's just for evaluation stuff. But you are an actual racing driver. So, I mean, it's going to be everyone's going to look at that test, of course, because there's a lot of names. You're like, oh my gosh, Logan Sargent's there. Like, goodness gracious, this is going to be crazy. But for you guys, it's very much like, okay, this is a points championship paying event at thermal. We're going to get to work, start doing some evaluation. What does that test plan look like for you guys? Is this very much we're going to get used to the car? Because you've driven an IndyCar before, but now we're fully locked in with our group. We're going to do a lot of practice pit stops, maybe kind of give people an idea of what an off-season test would look like for a rookie driver.
Yeah, so I think because it's not like it's still technically my evaluation test, but it's not really an evaluation. You know, we're already signed and done. It's confirmed. So if I suck, then it's too late. So
yeah, jokes on them. Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this test is primarily about two things. One, getting me comfortable with hybrids, pit stops, in laps, out laps, fuel saving, just the general things that need to be kind of ticked off the list, and get the ball rolling on that. Because the sooner we do that, the better. There will be obviously some adjustments with like car and stuff. So, for example, the team will do small changes to the car, see how I react to that, so that they can have an understanding of my gauge of those kind of things, just so we get to understand each other better. But yeah, at the end of the day, if I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't care where we end up in the test, because no driver ever says that. So yeah obviously,
it's true.
When we put the sticker reds on, we're going to want to go P1. Especially since the Rahal car was actually very good at thermal last year. I think all three cars were in the final race, or I forgot how they did it now, but the top end. So yeah, so we should have a good car there. But yeah, it's just mainly learning. It's a big learning curve. You know, I'm right at the bottom of that slope, and it's just trying to get up to the top as soon as possible, really.
Chase, I'm going to let you jump in here with our new friend Louis.
Yeah. Okay. So, do we settle that it is Louis, not Lewis?
We did settle it. Yeah.
Okay. I've always liked Louis. I'm like that. That's the way it is. I'm telling you, I had a good feeling about it. So I'm sure, you know, we've learned a lot about who Louis Foster, the driver, is. I want to know more about who Louis Foster, the person, is. I want to know the man, the individual. What are we doing off the track? What are your hobbies? You know, who are you?
God, if you got a flashlight in my face, it's like an interrogation.
This is it. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the
we
real
want to know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get up to a ton off track just because, as you know, when you've got a very busy work life, having a quiet home life is quite nice. So yeah, I mean, I've got obviously quite a lot of friends in the IndyCar paddock now. You know, specifically both the Christians. And then I used to live in Los Angeles, so for 2 years, so I've got a lot of friends out there in California. So like after the thermal test, for example, I'm staying over for a few more days and just staying with some friends and seeing them. So I think
I'll be out there at the same time. I'm going from the Vegas F1 race to LA. Yeah, my girlfriend lives in LA. So I also kind of co-live in LA. Around like the North Hollywood area. That area.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll be in Burbank on Wednesday.
Very close. Yeah.
Yeah, very close.
Very funny. Small world.
Yeah. But yeah, no, just kind of like staying in touch with friends. I think it's important, especially when you're traveling a lot. It's difficult to make time for close ones. So that's very important. And then, yeah, training takes a lot. I have my sim sitting next to me as well, which I often hop on. And honestly, I'm a big NASCAR guy on the sim. I love NASCAR on the sim. So I do a lot of like draft master races. Yeah, no, it's fun. I it's only maybe been a year since I kind of started doing that kind of stuff. And when I first started doing it, I was god awful. I'm still pretty bad, I'll admit that, but I'm getting better. Same. And no, it's fun. I actually really enjoy the NASCAR stuff. It's a very different type of racing. But yeah, I guess that's kind of what I get up to. I mean, pickleball in the summer, and I wouldn't say golf. Connor's seen my swing. It's not the best. Yeah. So,
well, me neither. But that's fine. We're optimistically getting better.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I guess that's kind of what I get up to, really.
There you go.
I want to talk about what you just said. It's kind of funny because you said NASCAR. You're going to be doing a lot of oval racing this year. There was obviously a little bit in Indy NXT. I'm still a little bit sad that they don't race at Indy. They don't do more ovals. I don't understand that really. Maybe it's because it costs a lot if you crash. I don't know. But are you excited about all the ovals that you're going to be doing? Is this something that, again, you've adjusted well to? I mean, you've won on ovals in Indy NXT. You know what you're doing there. But what about the Indianapolis Motor Speedway? How much does that excite you to get on track there?
Yeah, I think firstly going back to the start of coming to America, obviously ovals was completely foreign to me. You know, I turned up in Indy Pro and went to IRP, Lucas Oil Raceway, for the carb night. And that was my first ever oval, and we won that. So I was very surprised, honestly. I was sitting there in P3 during the race. I was like, you know what? I'll take a P3. Never in my life have I said I'll take a P3, but that day I said I'll take a P3. But we won that race, and then this year in Indy NXT, obviously we won all the ovals. So I've definitely, I'm getting there with it. I'm a lot more comfortable than I used to be on them, and I do love them. I think I don't enjoy the qualifying so much. I just love the racing. It's so much fun. It's like playing chess in your head.
Why do you think you don't enjoy the qualifying part? What do you think sets that apart?
Not that I don't enjoy it. I think I just enjoy it less than like road course qualifying, right? I think it's still fun and it's very different, and it's quite cool to just go out there and like, because you got to remember, in Europe, it's like, I come from a place where it's like you got tire prep for 3 laps before you push.
Yeah.
But here it's like, you're going out, you got one time by and you're gone. And it's like, are the tires even warm by then? And they are, but it's that kind of mental fortitude to be able to just do it, right? So I do enjoy that side of it. But I think obviously IndyCar is going to be a big step with ovals, especially since my first oval race in IndyCar is going to be the 500, which is pretty nuts, to be fair. But no, I'm really looking forward to it. Obviously I grew up a F1 kid. I'm British, as all do. Obviously I've known about IndyCar for a long time, but the first 500 that I actually like watched in person, like live when I was there, was when I first came to America, so 2022, and it did just completely blow me away. The amount of people, the atmosphere. I didn't understand it before then. I didn't get it. You know what I mean? I knew it was a big race. I didn't get how big. And, watching the cars come around the last corner, 3 wide for the start of the race, just it gave me goosebumps, So, yeah, I think to say that hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll be racing in it next year is pretty special. And yeah, I can't wait for it.
Let me tell you, it is a great time. I am not going to lie. It is it's a wonderful feeling. I am excited. I always get excited for the rookies too, because I remember my rookie year and it's just like taking it all in. Just be sure to enjoy it too. Obviously, we hope you guys aren't, fighting at the back there again. That's tough. But yeah, just take it all in. Enjoy the experience. It's such a good one. I have another question about the road to Indy, the Indy NXT field right now. It's growing all the time. What do you think it looks like for next year? What do you think? You've obviously progressed your way through. How do you feel that the road to Indy is doing overall as a competitiveness level? And what can you give us like an Indy NXT preview for next year?
Yeah. Firstly, I think the entire road to Indy at the end of the day is what made my career. So I have unlimited praise for it at the end of the day. And there's some promotions, and Penske, the prize money they put on for the championships throughout the levels it's no one else in the world does it. So I have endless praise for everyone involved. As for NXT and next year, it'll be interesting. I think it's gonna be a tough year. Obviously, I haven't been super involved in Indy Lights, Indy NXT over the years. I've only known it really for the last 3-4 years, right? So I don't know how exactly it used to be. I knew they struggled with grids before, and now they're definitely not. They're even, I think, talking about possibly implementing a charter system to Indy NXT in a way.
All right.
Or maybe a car limit, possibly, something like that.
Yeah, because HMD has 9. Yeah.
Yes.
That's a lot of cars.
I think we're definitely going to have over 20 cars next year on the grid, like consistently, right? But I think that it seems a lot more difficult to win in your first year now. I think maybe in the past you could jump from Indy Pro and then come straight into Indy Lights and, be competitive and win races and win the championship. I think nowadays, from my perspective, it's so hard to go in there and win it straight away because it's such a different car to anything anyone will ever drive. And it's so different from...
Tell people why. Why is it different? Because I did the development on that chassis, and I know what you're saying. It's a bit of an odd. It's a bit of just an odd car.
This is the way I describe it to people. So when people in Europe ask, how's the NXT car? Like they're looking at coming over to America, and they're like, oh, what is it like? Like what is it compared to like in the F3 or the F2 car? What does it compare? And I'm like, well, this is the way I view it, right? Dallara, IndyCar's gone to Dallara. What is it like? How old is the car? The car's like nearly 10 years old, right?
It's 2012 was the first year of the GW12.
So it's a 12-year-old car. So 12 years to go. IndyCar goes to Dallara and goes, hey, we need a chassis. And they're like, done, easy. They build this chassis, here it is. And Dallara says to them, okay, well, based on the tire you're going to run and based on the downforce levels we've given it, we think you should put about 300 horsepower in this car. And IndyCar goes, we're going to put 450 in it. So that's the way I view it, in the sense that, like, it's got so much power for the amount of grip it has. In all other categories, they kind of feel simple. Like, even in IndyCar, right?
Yeah.
The power and the grip, like, make sense.
Yeah.
In fact, we don't have enough power.
Exactly.
Yeah,
honestly, IndyCar could use more, 100%.
Yeah. So it makes it more challenging a little bit.
Exactly. Like, you're a lot more hands-on with it, right? The way you drive it is super aggressive. You can't, there's none of this small movements. It's all just hustling it everywhere. You drive it a little bit like a shifter go-kart, where, like, you don't really know what's going on, but it seems fast, right? So obviously there is some finesse to it, but it's definitely a difficult thing to wrap your head around. But also the championship itself, the way it's run, the push-to-pass system, the qualifying procedures, the way the races end up going, and managing just those things that are so new to a rookie is difficult. So that's why I think that it's if a rookie can come in next year and win it, fair play. Like, really, really fair play. Like, that's a talented kid, whoever does that. But I think it'll be a tough year. You've got the Able car, which I think is very, very strong. And you've got, some good pedalers behind that with Miles, Callum, and Juven. And then you got, obviously, two guys at Andretti that are going to be quite feisty with Lockie and Dennis.
Sure.
And then Kaio. Kaio's really quick. I raced him this year, obviously, most of the year. And, he surprised me a lot of the times with how much he was right behind me. And I couldn't leave him. So, yeah, it'll be an interesting year. If I couldn't put my money on anyone because I have too many friends there, so I can't say.
Yeah. I respect that.
But yeah, I think it'll be a very close year.
How was it? Were you impressed with Jamie Chadwick? We had her on the show. We had a great chat with her. Obviously, she did quite well. And she's now also trying to look to go to IndyCar, but kind of tell us what it was like to be teammates with her.
Yeah, so I've known Jamie for quite a few years, obviously, both being
fellow Brits.
Yeah, exactly. And when we knew we were going to be teammates, obviously in 2023, I was looking forward to it, to kind of actually working closely with her. And Jamie is a very, very special driver. She's extremely hardworking. She is very talented. As she did struggle for sure a little bit with the physicality side of things. Because they are tough beasts to drive. Definitely in the first year. Second year, she didn't struggle as much. She definitely upped the training a lot. But yeah, no, the steps she made from year one to year two was extremely impressive based on the amount of experience she has.
Yes, yeah.
She's done a lot of driving in single seaters. She's been driving single seaters since I was selling go-karts. You know what I mean? Like, she's been doing it a long time. So you would think that she's kind of at the end of her developmental curve almost. But that step that she made from year one to year two, I didn't expect whatsoever, and really, really impressive. So yeah, she's, on her day when it's all going right for her, she's quick. So I do hope to see her on the grid. She does deserve it. I think she'll be a great addition to the grid. But at the end of the day, it's all about the finances. If it can work financially for a team, then I'm sure it'll happen. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, for sure. Chase, I'm going to let you get another one in here with our friend Louie.
Yeah, kind of a question that you might have to chew on for a second. I wanted to know, let's say, hypothetically, you're walking into the NTT IndyCar series. You're given the ability to make one change to the series. What is that change and why?
Oh, I'm going to annoy a lot of people here, aren't I?
This is always what we like to try to get out of people, because we're all it takes all of us. We're all trying to get this sport to the highest level we can be at.
I feel like everyone has the same frustrations in the IndyCar paddock, in the sense that, like, we all know how good the racing is, how good the competitiveness is, and we don't feel that it's the viewership or the eyes it gets is what it deserves. It's here, we think it all should be here. And I agree with that 100%. I wish there were more eyes on it. at the end of the day, I know how to turn a thing with four wheels around a track kind of fast. I'm not a marketing genius, so I would never be able to do a better job than the guys at IndyCar do currently. I think it would be very cool, personally, to make IndyCar, and it was an idea I kind of floated around with some people recently, making IndyCar like a America championship, so North and South, right? Because at the end of the day, I think currently you're never going to be able to break a global market with Formula One in the way that it is right now. There's not enough space in the market for that. So there's no point in trying to do that because it's not going to work. F1's that's stamped. That's done. That's not changing for a while.
Don't even worry about competing with that.
Yeah, don't try and go to Europe. I don't think there's any point. Don't bother. Maybe you could look at Australia again and do Surfers Paradise again because I've heard a lot of good things about that.
Yeah.
But I think, have this race in Mexico that's been on the radar for so long. Let's have another race in Canada. Let's have a race in Argentina or Brazil. I think that if you could make IndyCar an America's championship, I think that would be quite cool. Because the thing is also, the South American fans are so emotionally involved, right? They're so very emotional people.
They'll buy tickets. They'll buy merch.
Exactly, and that's amazing for the sport. And if you give them a little bit, if IndyCar shows that they want them and they like all these fans and they want to be there, I think that those fans will receive that really well and really enjoy it because, we've already got Pato on the grid. You've got Tony Kanaan who can represent Brazil. You've got, Juncos Hollinger Racing with Argentina. There's links there that I think haven't been tapped quite as well as they could be. So yeah, I think that would be quite cool to see. Just kind of trying to engage a little bit more in the South American markets.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like that. I think you're right. I don't see us going to Europe in the near future, even though as much as I think it would be cool, I think you're right. I think we would get a much bigger kick out of going to Argentina, going to Mexico, wherever it is, Brazil. I think that'd be huge. And I don't know I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I would like to see that. But Louis, we appreciate you, man. We thanks for kind of doing this on a weird day. This is on a Saturday. Normally we record during the weeks, and we're trying to make sure that we get shows. And I got to go to Vegas. You got to go testing. Everyone's busy, but this is a perfect interview in our off season to kind of get to know the most recent champion of our Indy NXT series, and then a IndyCar driver in the future. Hope to be racing against you next year. That would be great. And also, can you give us an idea on who your teammate will be in the third car? Is there any word on yet? Can you give us any hints?
There is, but I can't say anything.
Okay, all right.
You know the answer to that. Don't try and
all right. Me. But hey, at least we know that's going to be there, right?
Yeah, there is a third car, and it's not going to be a ghost. There will be someone in it.
All right. Third car confirmed, ghost driver. We respect that.
Ghost drivers.
All right, man. Well, we appreciate you, and enjoy Thermal.
Cool. Thank you. I really appreciate it, guys, and good to meet you.
Got to thank Louis Foster for joining us. Great to talk with him. We've obviously involved several Indy NXT drivers throughout the year, and to get the champion on is only fitting. So love to see the Road to Indy system working. I'm very, 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 very curious to see how he does with the RLL Racing squad. It'll be interesting. That group has a lot of work to do, and I hope they give him the time to learn and grow. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But with that, let's finish up the show with a tremendous segment that we love. I love. I hope you guys love as well. The Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week.
The greatest event of its kind that's ever been run on.
Let's meet the drivers. We'll make up the field.
This week, we went way back into the olden days. We went into the history of the sport. We went to the 1923 Indianapolis 500. 1923, I mean, just barely getting the automobile off the ground. And we found a driver who finished ninth in the 1923 Indianapolis 500, Prince DeSistra. Prince DeSistra, maybe? I'm not entirely sure, but really cool name. Driving a Bugatti as well. Prince DeSistra. I'm going to go DeSistra. if you go to this person's Wikipedia, the picture is fantastic. It's like it doesn't even look real, like a very old school like war photograph. Again, only one Indy 500 to this man's career, which is I always really enjoy finding these drivers, and there's really nothing about him on Wikipedia at all. So I'm very okay. This is actually interesting. So the real name, if you want to read this out, which this might sound like this might be a clip in itself. Prince de Sistre was born Bertrand Marie Ponce Francois Raphael Lusange. I don't even know if that's true. And then there's another name. Is that two names? No, anyway. So that was apparently his real name, but he competed under the name Prince de Sistre, which I don't know how you go from 14 names to what he went to, but I respect that. And then in 1919, apparently, this guy married a princess, Princess Paula Murat, and they divorced in 1926. And then he married someone else. And I don't even know what the significance of these people are, but what a different time in life. So that's our Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week. I hope you enjoyed my pronunciation of a name that is very long and very French. Obviously, this driver was a French racing driver. And that's cool to learn about. One Indy 500 for Prince de Sistre. So that's very, very cool. Anyway, as I mentioned, please subscribe to the channels if you haven't already. Become a subscriber, become a friend of ours. We really, really appreciate you guys. It's going to be an off week next week for Thanksgiving, but stay tuned. If you're on the YouTube or if you're listening to this show, go to the YouTube. I'm going to have a cool video on the YouTube channel, basically to kind of not take the place of an episode, but just to entertain you while we're on an off week. Shout out to my producer Bobby for editing that for me. So stay tuned for that. And then we will do a show. We will see you in December. Hopefully there's some more news to talk about. Obviously, we're going to take the Thanksgiving week off, have a little bit of a vacation, but come right back the week after. And maybe there's some more exciting things to talk about. I certainly hope that there is. I would like to have some news myself too, but who knows? We could only be so lucky. So anyway, we appreciate you guys a lot. Thank you so much for listening and just enjoying the show. Please share it with someone. Tell someone about it. I'm going to go play some more golf potentially and get ready to go Las Vegas motor racing. And by that, I mean commentate. So we'll see you guys next week on Speed Street. Hey everyone, Connor Daly here. Please leave a like on this video if you did enjoy it, and also subscribe to the channel as well. That would be very helpful. Be a friend, tell a friend. Thank you so much for the support, and we'll see you on the next episode of Speed Street.